My earliest memories of Springfield Armory are I was 20 years old, second year in college, and really didn't know where I was going to go, what to do, and Mom and Dad were farmers and also in the surplus gun business. They were selling parts, not surplus guns at the time. So my whole childhood was, it was try to figure out how to run a farm and also have all of our buildings and corn cribs and barns filling up with gun stocks and things that Dad was doing at the same time. So that was what my memory was from a child, always the mixture of farming and guns. The M14 rifle was not available to the civilian public because that was a select fire rifle. So the first opportunity anybody had to own one of the M14 rifles was an M1A rifle that was being made by a man in San Antonio, Texas by the name of Elmer Balance. It's kind of a strange story how it all evolved, but Elmer was getting out of the business. So my mom and dad mortgaged the farm, everything they owned, to be able to buy what we bought to give it a try. A couple of semi-trailer loads full of parts, and that included all of the machinery, equipment. I mean, it was literally just 2 semi-loads of stuff. And in that was about 4 or 5 shoe boxes full of responses from an American Rifleman ad. And so these shoe boxes were just full of people that were responding to the opportunity to buy an M1A rifle. And when we saw that, we just kind of discovered it in the process of going through all the inventory and everything. We said, you know what, there's something here.
So my connection with Springfield Armory and to a great degree Dennis Reese dates back to me winning the 1983 IPSC U.S. Nationals, which was held in Moline, Illinois. I didn't know anybody at Springfield Armory that time, but I won that match. So when I won that match, the prize was a Springfield Armory M1A Super Match. That was the prize I got for winning the match. It was a rifle I couldn't afford at the time. I was just barely making ends meet to shoot a few nationals through the course of the year with the support that I had, but that's what really brought me into a connection with Springfield Armory, was that event. So the next step was Springfield Armory started producing 1911s in either, I think it was 85, I can't remember for sure, and I was at the Bianchi Cup. I was getting ready for my new guns to be built. It was built by another custom shop at the time. Springfield didn't have a custom shop for that. And I made a contact with whoever the person was at the display in the vendor tent at the Bianchi Cup. That ended up being Dave Reese, another one of the brothers, and said, hey, I'm building a couple new guns, and I'd love to build them on yours and see how they turn out. And he's like, yeah, for sure. And the guns turned out perfect. And the next year I won the Nationals with those guns. And at that point, Springfield then approached me, because they knew who I was now at this point, because we'd had some amount of connection, and said, hey, we want you to shoot for us. Well, that happened in 1985, 86 period of time, and very successful through there. I won most of the Nationals and the World Shoots, and I got approached in 89 by the Springfield Armory people and said, hey, we want you to come and be an employee for us. Back then, it's the same buildings we're in. It was a lot smaller then. We didn't have as many extensions off of it, but it was still the same basic location. And I can still remember coming in then, and I know what it felt like because it's exactly the same as now. When I come in here now and I walk through there, the manufacturing site, and I see just racks of guns. I remember the first time I ever came in, and like, oh man. I lived my whole life up to that point just hoping to have one of those sometime. And there's 30 of them right there. And there's a rack of M1As right there. And whatever models we were building at the time. And it was always like coming into a candy store. I always felt like I was Charlie going into the Wonka factory. That's how I always felt. And it's still like that. When I go in and go back in and look at custom and talk to the guys who've built my competition guns now for 30 years, it's like family, but it's still, there's a certain level of magic when I look at the guns.
I started in 1991. I hired directly into the custom shop. At that time, Les Bear was the director of the custom shop, and we were at the other facility that outside of town that we lovingly refer to as the farm. The custom shop was separate from the main facility here at 420. Again, I started as a custom pistol smith, building custom 1911s. Also, at that time, we were just finalizing the P9 project. So we were building custom 1911s in what we refer to as the P9 World Cup, which is a CZ75 type custom pistol. We were the first custom outfitters to build those guns in a hand-built custom format. They had enlarged extended beaver tails on them, hand-checkered front straps, match-grade barrels, compensators, because at that time the rage was open IPSC or USPSA competition. So we built a lot of custom 1911s for competitive shooters as well as the P9. You know, when people look at custom 1911s, at first glance, they look just like a factory 1911 that we might offer. A guy's holding this gun, he says, how come this gun retails for $3,600 and this gun's $800? What's the difference? They look the same. Well, the difference is the custom guns are completely and totally built by hand. Every single component that goes into that pistol is hand fit by one of those gunsmiths I was mentioning. We take advantage of a lot of CNC equipment, but you still cannot get the precise fitment of the moving components by machining them. They have got to be fit by hand, and that is a very labor-intensive operation to build those guns. A factory gun, you might assemble one of those in 30 minutes. A custom pistol might take 30 hours to build. Again, they look very, very similar. The analogy a lot of times we use is in NASCAR racing. The cars look kind of like a Ford Taurus, but they're completely, you pull the shell off and completely different. And that's similar to what custom guns are compared to factory guns.
One of the proudest moments that I have and my brother had when we were running the business up through the 90s. In 1996, we competed against the best custom shops in the country for the FBI hostage rescue team contract. And I'll cut through all of the things that we had to go through, but we ended up winning it. It's been an incredible contract. Still, we do some rebuilding for the HRT teams. Now they're called close response groups. It's a CRG. But we do some rebuilding of those guns even now. Now it's been 23 or so years. But the fact that we received that contract and building some of the most accurate, reliable guns for agents that called for help is really quite the honor for us. And I think it's a huge testament to the quality and workmanship that we put into our custom shop guns.
One of the things that enticed me to come work at Springfield Armory when Denny asked me was I was really impressed with his passion for new product development and his way of thinking, the sky's the limit. And so, I think that on top of, even before I came here, Springfield Armory has always been known for incredible customer service. You read it online and the forums, on social media all over the place. And now firsthand I've realized just how true that is. And that goes a long way because of the family culture here. The Reeses have put together a group over the last many, many years, and many people have been here for as much as 35 years or more. I think our average tenure here is 15 years. So that kind of stuff is what has made Springfield Armory what it is.
Since 1974, the M1A has been being produced every year, and we constantly evolve that line. We've come out with collapsible stock models, short models, SOCOM models, different caliber offerings. What I think is really interesting is that as we have moved forward in time, we've never lost sight of our desire to give the customer what he wants, and I think we have a real innate ability to sense that or a gut instinct for that. So just like those classic designs that we've made and introduced over the years, the ones that we still hold on to are the ones that are certainly the ones that are most desired by our customers. And so with the introduction of the XD line in early 2000 and the evolution of that line, it's allowed us to continue that thought process and really get into other product families that I've always wanted to get involved with. I personally love R&D. I personally love designing and working on new model guns. That's what keeps me awake at night, and a pen and paper beside on the nightstand. But to be able to have the opportunity to bring new model product platforms to the market, like our Saint rifle, has just been so much fun. I know we got a little bit of grief from some of the people out there that said, "Man, you're a little bit late to the party," but we're here, and the product stands for itself. Then the 911, the new 380 that we just came out with, I think is also an answer to what Springfield needs to provide in terms of a product at a great price with all the right features, and I think it's been super well accepted and introduced into the market. We've got other things we're working on that are going to be really fun to work on, and I'm having more fun now in my 44th year than I ever have, working with the people that we've got here and the culture, and we've added a few select people in our management team that have really made a difference. And so I think the introduction of those people allows me to be more able to do what I love to do, which is working on new models, new designs, and really get, I hope, the customer what he wants.